What's up YouTube? It's James Q Quick from Learn, Build, Teach. Today I want to talk to you about how I powered my static site using Gatsby with a backend headless CMS called Cosmic CMS to provide course information to my website. So we're going to walk through how I did that. Let's go ahead and dive on in. All right, so first off, I want to just explain what my website is and then what the problem is or was that I was trying to solve, and then we'll get into technically how I solved it. So starting out at learnbuildteach.com, this is the website that I use for my online content platform. So this is where I'm going to list out some things about my philosophy, and then primarily the thing we're going to talk about today is courses. So on here, you can see I've got 4 different courses on here, 3 of which are free. The Build a Quiz app, Design and Build a Chat app, and then Core Fundamentals of Web Development, and then one paid, which is Learn Visual Studio Code on Udemy. So all of this course information right now, again, I'm using Gatsby as my platform for generating this static site. All of this content right now is coming from Markdown files. Let's see if we can open that up here in Markdown. Let's see, Learn VS Code, for example. So this is the Markdown file that represents the information for one of my courses, the Learn VS Code course. Let me clear this out real quick. So you can see it's got information like the created date, the title description, images, and then the kind of bigger or main description down here as the main content of that Markdown file. So what Gatsby will do is when this site builds, or when I do a Gatsby build, or when I start this up locally, which you'll see in a second, it's going to iterate through all of those Markdown files, pass that information in, and then let me do something with it. So let's look at, I've got a course list file here, course list component. And you don't have to be too familiar with Gatsby to kind of understand the basics here, but probably wanting a background there will help. So what this does is this course list component, this whole section here, the courses section, what it will do is it will go and query, and Gatsby uses GraphQL to do a query, and this query will rip through all of those Markdown files, and it will extract the information that I tell it, including all of these front matter properties like the featured, hours, videos, image, all that kind of stuff, and then the HTML, which is just the content down here. So it will get all of that information, it will pass that into the render, and then it will take that, that course information and it will display them in the JSX with React. So that's the way things are working right now, where we're going through and reading information from static Markdown files included in the source code. Now that works perfectly fine. It's actually a pretty cool development workflow, but I started just kind of being interested in what a headless CMS was, and found a couple people from Cosmic that I talked to and decided to give Cosmic a chance and was really excited about it. So what Cosmic is, I'm going to come over to my bucket here. Cosmic is a headless CMS. Basically what a headless CMS is that it doesn't have a front end that you use as your website. It basically just gives you a GUI to be able to upload data. So what I've done here is I created a bucket for Learn, Build, Teach. Bucket is just kind of a grouping of things. Inside of Learn, Build, Teach bucket, I've got 4 objects, and these 4 objects actually are a type of course. So if you look at the courses folder here, what I've done is define an object. Basically, think about an object in any sort of programming language called course, and each one of these course objects will have certain properties: an image, a release date, a URL, image alternate text, and all these different things. Notice that these properties basically line up with the properties that are in the front matter of my Markdown file in the Markdown file. So I've got all these different properties tracked here as defining that course object, and then inside of courses, I've got basically the exact same content that I have in my Markdown files now in Cosmic. So if I look at Learn Visual Studio Code, I'll see those different properties, images, descriptions, all that kind of stuff is the same. So what I'm going to do is now show you how I went from pulling this information in Gatsby from local Markdown files to pulling this information from Cosmic. So that's what we're going to do. To do that, we're going to use the Gatsby Source Cosmic plugin. And if you've used Gatsby before, you know that there's tons of different plugins. The plugins ecosystem is one of the very best things about Gatsby in general. And there's lots of different source plugins, and what these are a way to allow you to do GraphQL queries against different kinds of sources. So you could do YouTube videos, Markdown files, Cosmic as a backend, WordPress as a backend, things like that. So we're going to use the Gatsby source Cosmic JS plugin. So we're going to start by installing that. npm install Gatsby source plugin. Make sure my spelling is right there. And while that's loading, see, what do we do here? I typed that in wrong. Gatsby source Cosmic JS, not Cosmic. Or Gatsby source Cosmic JS. All right, let's see if that's right. After I mistyped a couple times. So that looks like it's going out and installing that stuff there. What I want to open up is my config, Gatsby config file, because we're going to add some configuration for that plugin. And some of the configuration you can see in here. It shows you the configuration for that plugin. What you're going to need is to define or pass in a bucket slug. And the bucket slug for me, if we come back to my buckets, is learn, build, teach. So that's the bucket that I want to work with, where I want to get my information from. And then the object types, I want to get my types of courses. I just want to get course objects. And then there's an API key that you'll need to get to be able to put in there as well. So I've got this configuration already typed up to the side. I'm going to grab that and just paste it in here. All right, let me paste that in. Oh, and I think that should go inside of the array. So it's an array of configurations for the different plugins. And now this one's going to go at the bottom. So this is going to be for the Gatsby source Cosmic JS plugin. I want to get information from learn, build, teach bucket. And that's just a collection of things. Then I want to specifically get all course objects or items and then pass in an API read key. Let me save this, and what I'm going to do is run Gatsby develop. So this is going to start up my site, and we'll see that here unless there's something going wrong. It looks like I've got a conflicting npm or node version. I think I've updated my node version. Let me run that real quick, and I'll come back here in a second. Okay, so sorry about that. That was just an issue with my node version I recently updated and just needed to rebuild some of those packages. And then I ran Gatsby develop again, and it seems to be working. So with Gatsby develop running, let me scroll to the bottom of the logs here. I can go to localhost 8000, and I should see basically my site, right? So it's still pulling from Markdown. It's configured to be able to pull from Cosmic, but this stuff is still being pulled from Markdown. So one of the things that Gatsby also gives us is a GraphQL editor or GUI where we can come in and actually see what information will be returned from certain GraphQL. So I'm going to get rid of this. And if I look on the left here, I should see in all Cosmic JS courses, this is added by default by Gatsby because I defined that plugin. And now I have access to that information. So I'm going to grab one more thing from my notes here. And this is just the actual query itself. And I'm going to paste this in, and then I'll explain what I'm doing. So what this is doing is it's going to ask for all the information from all Cosmic JS courses. That's something provided by Gatsby because of that plugin. I want to do a sort, and I want to sort based on release date, and then order them in descending order so I get the most recent first. The way this works, you get a set of edges. For each edge, you have a node, and then each node is where you'll have access to all the different properties of the things that you're querying. So I can get title, ID, slug, and then basically all of these things are going to look more or less like what we saw inside of the front matter of Markdown files and in the properties of our Cosmic. So if I query this, now I can see here's all the information that I needed coming back inside of here. So now, since we've got that query set, I'm going to copy this again. I'm going to come back to my course list file. And remember I said initially, this thing was querying from Markdown. So we're just going to change this a bit by pasting in the new query. Hopefully that pasted in right. Paste in that new query. And it looks like I messed that up a little bit. Let's make sure we paste. I think I need one more bracket. Let's save that. Hopefully that one's okay. All right, looks like that's compiling. The website is probably going to be broken though, because the data is going to be a little bit different than it was before. So we'll get to that in a second. But we've passed in our new query. Now I'm going to get rid of, and I don't think this logic was very good. I'm going to get rid of this stuff. I want to try to log out the data that's coming back just to see if it looks right. And because we got rid of that other stuff, I'm going to comment out for now. Let's comment all of the JSX stuff out, and then let's just put a p tag that says testing, just to make sure we can see it displayed, and then check in the console. So let's refresh, scroll down, should see testing, and then in the console, if we're lucky, we'll see the right information. It looks like object, and then all Cosmic JS courses, and it's got edges, and then each one of those edges has a node property. Inside of the node property, we should see all the information we're looking for, including the metadata stuff that's up there. So this looks right. We're getting the right information from the query. Now we need to actually convert that to the kind of information that we're looking for. So let me undo this comment out. I'm going to undo this part, undo that. And what I want to do is create two little helper functions to be able to convert this information the way we want. So I'm going to copy these in, and then I'll explain what they do. Copy them in here. So the first one is going to take the Cosmic information, and it's going to convert it to an array of course objects in the format that I want to work with. So it's basically going to flatten out some of that information. So what we're doing here is it's going to do a map. So a map is where you iterate through each item in an array. So each one of those edges, iterate through each one of those edges, and then change each one in some way, transform it in some way, and eventually it will return an array of the newly formatted objects. So we're going to iterate through each edge. We're going to reference that as a course. And now the object that we want to return, the transformed one, is we're going to grab the title. We're going to grab all of the metadata, so all the metadata properties from that node. We want to just spit that out into this new object. And then specifically, we'll grab the image to be the node metadata image URL. And we're just doing that one specifically because it's a little bit further nested. So that's what we want to do. Basically, at the end of this, we'll have a title property, an image property, and then a property for each one of the properties inside of the previous metadata. So we'll convert all those. Then we want to take those, all of those courses, and grab just the one, or return just the one that is featured. So we'll take it out of the courses array and then return the one that is featured. So we're looking for a featured course. We're going to iterate through each one of these courses. If that course is featured, if it has a Boolean value of true, basically splice that out of the array and then return that featured course. So that's what we're doing here. So back up at the top now, instead of just logging out the data, we will want to get the courses from the Cosmic to courses array. So we'll pass in that data. And then we'll want to get the featured course. Featured course is extract featured course, passing in the courses. And I think I had that as a cont or a let, but I think that can be a const because I'm not going to change that. All right. And then lastly, we want to pass these things in to the styling down here. The only thing I think we need to change is featured course matches up, and then this other one will be courses instead of not featured courses. Great name. So we'll iterate through each one of those courses. And now if we're lucky, let's refresh this. And actually we will still have a problem. So this is saying cannot read property fluid of undefined. What this means is previously the way I did images was using something called Gatsby image plugin, and it can do some fancy stuff of doing some lazy loading and optimization around images, but only images that are local to your project, to your actual repository. The image that we're getting here is not from there, so we're going to have to do things a little bit differently to be able to show them. So let's come back over to the, let's say this is a course card, so course card component. Inside of the course card component, it passes in the image to a card component. So let's open up the card component. And inside of card, it's doing this fancy stuff with Gatsby image. So let me get rid of Gatsby image here. And then I'm going to change this to just a regular image tag, a lowercase img. Get rid of the fluid here, and this will just be source equals, and then we'll assign the source to be image. And I think that will take care of now using the appropriate image from Cosmic. And if we come down, we should see, we're at least seeing the information, but it's not styled perfectly. The reason is Gatsby image did some nested classes, and I had some styling built for that. So let's come into the card JS. This is styled components, so it's CSS and JavaScript. Maybe something new for people out there. But let's come into, I think I've got a card list, styled image card, card content, card tag, card image. And I think we want to select an image, each image tag inside of the card image. So let me grab this and put that in here. So what I'm doing is just saying width and height are 100%, and then make that image fit to the area that it's in, and then display block will get rid of a tiny bit of padding that was there. So now if we refresh, now this content looks exactly like what we thought it would, and now we're getting our information from Cosmic instead of Markdown. Now to prove that, just to show you that that's actually working, I could come into the Markdown directory, and I could delete that completely. And actually this will cause an error, and I'll show you why in a second. Let's not navigate, nope, sorry. Let's come back and try to reload this page. And I think, so I guess this will throw an error now when we build, and I'll show you why in a second. When we try to do another Gatsby develop, this will fail because we don't have any Markdown files, and inside of our Gatsby config, we're telling it to look for the Markdown files in Gatsby transformer remark. So let's get rid of that plugin, and I think that will take care of those errors. Nope, I guess there's one more, because we were telling it in the, here it is. Okay, so we were telling it to look for files inside of a directory and then a Markdown directory. So let's get rid of that one. And now let's save. And basically all I'm doing here is telling it not to look for, I think do I have a typo in here somewhere? Yeah. All right. Just needed that comma. Let's run this one more time. So basically all we've done is tell this to completely ignore Markdown files. Don't look for Markdown files. And as you can see, there's no Markdown files in the source code. So there's no way that it can be getting information from Markdown files. And let's come back to the site. Let's refresh and scroll down and see that we still have our information. Now, the last thing I want to show you, just to, again, prove to you that this is working the way that it should, is I'll come into one of my objects. So let's say build a link saver with HTML, CSS, and let's say James, something just kind of weird. Let's publish this. And so all we'll need to do on the front end is rebuild it. And when you do a Gatsby develop, it does a build, and then it gives you a live reloading server. So this is going to rebuild. And now if we come back into our local learn, build, teach, and refresh, we should see, let's see, build a link saver app with HTML, CSS, and James. So you can see that content change. So before I forget, let me go ahead and undo this. So HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and publish that. So you can tell from a couple of different ways, there's no more Markdown files, took the Markdown configuration out of the Gatsby config, and then also changed some of the information in Cosmic to show you, to guarantee you that that information is coming from there. Now, the really cool thing about this is with this being a headless CMS, with this having a GUI to be able to edit information, it's kind of cool for me, but as a technical person, I can write Markdown and it's fine. But the real big benefit is that non-technical users, non-programmers, people who aren't used to Markdown can come in and they can create content, they can edit content, they can publish, they can save it as a draft, they can unpublish, they can delete, they can do all those things. And then the front end part, the Gatsby part, doesn't care. They're completely separate processes. Anyone can come in that you give access to, not just anyone, but people with access can come in and change this information to reflect whatever they need it to be. So one of the quotes that I got from Cosmic is they consider themselves to be the most empathetic headless CMS for non-technical people. So they are really focused on user experience. They're really focused on a great overall experience and being able to edit content in the back end and not have to worry about any of the technical stuff. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up, I know it's been a little bit long, is I am running on a free bucket. And let's come to the pricing. Can I get pricing up? There we go. So they've got several different buckets that can get a little expensive. So if you're at a big agency, this might make a lot of sense to pay for one of these buckets so that your members, your team members can come in and edit content without having to be technical at all. That would be great. For any kind of smaller projects that you might be working on or you want to test it out, you can get a free bucket. And I think the free bucket is for 14 days or a couple weeks. You can also keep that bucket for life if you come over to the contribute to Cosmic JS page. And if you add the powered by Cosmic JS tag to your site, you'll be able to keep your free bucket forever. No questions asked. You'll also get some free dev swag. So I got some dev swag. I'm not wearing it right now, but I got a t-shirt and some stickers and some cool stuff. So it's kind of worth it for that. They will obviously want to promote your work. If you do good stuff using their platform, they will want to promote it. And then maybe there's opportunity for some ongoing paid work as they continue to grow and are looking for more content and that sort of stuff. So there's no reason not to try it out. You can get a free bucket. You can continue to have the free bucket if you add the powered by Cosmic JS tag to your site. And then you can just kind of run from there. Give it a shot. See what you think, especially if you're going to have people working on a project that are not technical or don't know how to write Markdown or aren't comfortable with Markdown. This is the way to open up that opportunity to them so that everyone can contribute and they don't have to be bogged down by each other. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Just a quick recap. I have a personal site, learnbuildteach.com, which is where I put all of my course information and link to some videos and stuff like that. I was previously using Markdown files to pull in information about these courses here. Now with Cosmic JS as a headless backend, in just a few minutes, I was able to transform my site from pulling from Markdown files to then pulling from Cosmic JS. The plugin in Gatsby works great. It was pretty seamless. So I think it's worth giving it a shot. I want to thank you guys for checking out the video, and I will see you in the next one. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out learnbuildteach.com to sign up for the newsletter to learn about my latest content. Thanks for watching.